Hello everyone. I thought it was time I gave you an update on the tomato situation for me. Now we're in this newer tunnel of mine, of the newer of the three tunnels, and down this side I've got my Crimson Crush plants. That these were all grown from side shoots, and hopefully you can see, but I'll show you closer in a minute. I've got fruit on these ripening now, so that's good, and hopefully this is going to take me much longer into the season, all the way into September, and if the weather holds, even beyond that, because these still got some way to grow, but they've grown well considering they were just side shoots taking off plants that were in the other tunnel. This was all part of my fertigation trial, and all this lot is too, and I'll give you a closer look at that because there's a couple of things I've noticed, especially with me taking off the lower leaves. You do that to allow the fruits to ripen so that the sunlight can get to them and they ripen better, and to stop problems like with mold and mildew and stuff, and we'll talk more about that again in a second. So I do it lightly at first. I take only about this high off at first when I first do it, and then just this last day or so, I think it was yesterday, I cleared most of the stuff in here. Still need to do these in here, but this is a bit crazy, and I've been doing the other tunnels this morning, but we'll have a good look around and a chat as we go. So I've sort of knelt down here just so you can see the bottom of these Crimson Crush, and you can see there's plenty of fruit down here, and that's starting to ripen, and hopefully if the weather holds and we stay warm for another month or two, then that will continue up these plants. But these are looking good, and very pleased with these. You know, if I swivel round and I'll stand up and I'll start at this end, what we've got here is pathways dividing the area up so I can get in and tend to these plants. And when I planted this earlier in the year, it looked actually very Spartan, like I hadn't put enough plants in. So for instance, at the front over there, I've got 4 aubergine plants and then 4 tomato plants, and as I say, it seemed very Spartan, but I went with it anyway. Now it's too crowded, because what's happened here, and if you notice that these are my I think these are the black strawberry here plants that Audrey sent me the seeds for. They're right at the end of the polytunnel where they can get plenty of light. But as you come into the next batch of plants, these are blue chocolate, you can see that there's very few fruit on this. And I did highlight some other problems that might be. But again, if we move along now to the Brad's Atomic grapes that Tony sent me these seeds, again, very few fruit on this at all. And I think that's because the plants are too densely planted, and there's cover all the way over at the back there with those aubergines, stopping the light getting through and aiding germination, aiding the fruiting. Plus the fact that it did get too hot in here at various times in the season when I didn't see it coming, and I've got no ventilation. That's all these issues add up, and it's particularly prevalent on these here. Now this is absolutely crazy. These are the Barry's Crazy Cherry, and it's absolutely smothered in flower in this area. We have got some fruit developing lower down here and all the way in there, and I still need to get in there and prune stuff out. But yeah, again, too close and too many plants. So I'm going to run this trial again next year, this fertigation trial, but I'm going to plant them slightly differently, and I've kind of worked out in my mind, and I'll work on that over the winter. But basically it means I'm going to have a line of tomatoes down this edge, and where I've got peppers over there now and aubergines over there, I'm not going to put them in. They'll go in another tunnel, and I will put melons down that edge, but I will allow them to scramble over the floor, meaning that the light is available from over on that side. And by then I'll also have my roll up screen there for better ventilation, and I will have in these doors my ventilation windows the same as I've got in the big tunnel. That should cure a lot of problems and mean that my fruiting is better. And also these plants will then be at the highest part of the tunnel, and I've then got the possibility to lower the actual whole plant and allow them to grow even longer. They're up at 9 foot at the moment up here, but if I took them off the string and lowered the plant and laid the plant stem along the floor here, I could go up another couple of foot. But we'll see. I'm not getting ahead of myself, but definitely in here I need to do things a little differently, and I'll get results next year. I'm fairly confident of that. So it's a little bit messy in the small tunnel here, but I've got rows of dwarf French beans down the front here. Hopefully going to get a crop from these, and down the back and up against this temporary benching thing that I use in here, I've got, these are my second batch of Crimson Crush cuttings that I took, and you can see just peering through, I've got fruit on them. So as I say, if we get an extended summer or extended warm period all the way into October, I'll still be getting ripe fruit off this. So, you know, just for a little bit of effort of taking the cuttings and potting them on. I've also got all my garlic in here still, and my onions and shallots drying off. But anyway, big tunnel now. So if this is your first time here, Green Side Up is dedicated to helping gardeners of all ages, ability and experience. So if you're subscribed to this channel, then I can help you too. It's the big red button just down here in the corner, and it's free of charge. It's brilliant. So this bed was planted ages ago, back in April I think, and it's my Crimson Crush plants, and as they grew I took the side shoots off, planted them, grew them on, and I've got that patch in the other tunnel and in that other tunnel as well, all from these plants. A lot of this fruit, we've had a lot of it already, to be honest. Some hasn't come so well like these, but I'm going to pick them today. And what I did a couple of weeks back was I cut all the leaves off to this height, and this allowed me to plant these kale underneath. And at the back here you can see I've got 2 nice rows, so that gives them a start and allows them to get the roots down while this is still harvesting and growing away nicely. Eventually I'll just take my secateurs and cut these off at the base there, and I'll leave them in and allow these plants to carry on, and I'll probably leave them plants amongst these kale as well to fill this bed up. And I've left all the foliage on the path here all this morning, and I've been walking up and down it because that bruises it ready to go in the compost heap. So it's starting the composting here on the path. Now down here I've got a whole load of more brassica plants growing away, and in a couple of weeks I'll be able to dig these up and move them on, and I'll show you now where I'm going to move them on to, or a lot of them. So this is the next bed along, the Crimson Crusher up there and the kale plants, and this is the next bed along, and I've pruned off a lot of leaves off these, and as you can see, these are my Jersey Devil tomatoes here. There's some up ripe on here. These are all the ripe ones of all the plants are being picked off today. I'm going home and I'm going to be making soup and freezing some and eating some. But what I'm going to be doing also is taking out these old tagetes, these marigolds, cleaning up the bottom area of around these base of these plants, put some fertilizer in ready for the brassicas that are now behind me that I showed you a minute ago, and they'll be planted again around the base of these tomato plants for overwintering. And if you're wondering what this sunflower's doing in here, somebody gave me a couple of pots of them ready to plant out and I forgot about them. They got hidden in the tagetes down here, and they unfortunately rooted, so they're rooted through the pots and they're growing away and flowering, but that's all right. But yeah, I say these are Black Prince tomatoes, so all this ripe stuff is all coming off today. And these kind of my favourites at the minute. These are the Ildi tomatoes, and these are like little sweets, and I'm taking them home most days, and they just sit in a bowl at the end of the kitchen worktop, easily accessible, and we munch on them all day, to be honest. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. And on the other side, away from these main tomato plants here, a few stragglers went in on this side. I think this one is a black strawberry, got fruit on there. Haven't really looked after that one properly, nor this next one. And again, I think these here are Barry's Crazy Cherry. Yeah, look at the trusses on them, fantastic. So I'm not sure if these will ever develop and ripen, but they've got a chance while they're in the ground and growing, so we'll let them get on with it. So that's it, multiple ways to grow tomatoes and get plants for free, and then so on, getting fruit for free as well at the end of the season, providing the season goes on. Doesn't always, sometimes we get frost in October, but sometimes the weather could be so mild that it can keep on going. And it's been a long while since this has happened, but I've been picking fruit in the middle of December before now, probably 20 years ago now since that's happened. But it can happen, and it's worth having plants in the ground for that very reason, and to spread your harvest out. You don't want a glut of tomatoes unless you're going to make chutney or something with it. If you could spread it out, so much the better, and that's what I've managed to achieve this year. Hasn't been all I wanted this year, but I was running a test, and you expect problems in a test. So next year that test should be 100% better, if not hopefully 200% better. But there we go, that's it for today. Please look after yourselves, stay safe, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Ta-ra now.